James, thanks so much for being here.
It's a pleasure, Dan. Thanks.
Of course. So you have a new report out talking about the economic impact of legalizing marijuana for recreational use in New York. There's been a lot of speculation about that. And when we talk about the economic impact, I think it's fair to say that for the most part, we focus on two things: tax revenue and the jobs that are created. And you looked at both. Let's start with the tax revenue first. So what did your report find in terms of when marijuana is up and running, everything's all set in New York for legalization, and we're selling full supply and things like that? How much tax revenue are you estimating that it could be generated for the state?
Yeah, so we had to start with trying to estimate what the size of the marijuana market is in New York. And it's going to be, 4 to 5 years before there's any sort of meaningful revenue. But that revenue, is not insignificant for New York. So after 5 years, in terms of the impact on state revenues, it could be $800 million a year. There would also be some local revenues that's part of that. The governor's proposal, for example, would subject marijuana sales to the sales tax. Local governments would get a share of that. The legislature's proposal has a portion of the excise tax that would go to local governments. Same thing there. And then in addition to the taxes related to the sales of marijuana, there would be taxes generated in the economy in the form of property taxes, income taxes, and also some sales taxes related to the economic activity of growing and selling legal marijuana in New York.
Can I ask, the State Department of Health had estimated that legalizing marijuana might generate up to $300 million, which is obviously less than half of what you're estimating. Do you know what the differences are there between their research and your research, why you come up with such a higher number?
Yeah, so they were using a lower tax rate, and they were also using a lower estimate of what the size of the legal market would be in New York. So I used some more recent data from a national survey of marijuana consumption that increased what the baseline expectation was about marijuana consumption.
So when we're talking about that 700 to 800 million revenue number, is that proportional to what we've seen in other states that have legalized? In other words, is it Colorado obviously wouldn't generate that much because they have a lower population. For our population, is it proportional to what we see in other states?
So if you think about it in terms of the revenue per marijuana user, so that's in a sense adjusted for the population, although marijuana use also varies by state. But it's really, I tried to make the estimates conservative on this, so it's in line with what the consumption per user would be in large industrial states like California, Michigan, and Illinois.
And in terms of the tax rates that we're looking at, from the governor's proposal to the legislature's proposal, I know they're slightly different, but are our tax rates kind of similar to what we see in neighboring states like Vermont and Massachusetts? Just because I know there's a worry that people will continue to go across the border if we legalize here and it's too expensive, or that people will go to the illicit market.
Yeah, so that is a real concern. So the proposed tax rates, both in the legislature's bill and the governor's bill, are a little bit higher than Massachusetts at this point. Massachusetts is the only neighboring state that already has legal sales. So it is something that lawmakers will have to pay close attention to make sure that our tax rate is not uncompetitive and that we lose sales to other states, or, as you suggested, continue to lose sales to the illicit market.
So let's talk about the other side, the job side of this. In your report, you look at the jobs that would be generated by legalization of marijuana. What are we looking at in terms of numbers, and what kind of jobs are these? Are they like cultivation jobs, retail jobs? I imagine it's probably a combination of a lot of different jobs.
Yeah, so most of the jobs would be on the retail side, though, although there would be a broad range of jobs. And the numbers are on the order of, in the first full year when legal sales are permitted, 10 to 12,000 jobs, and after 5 years, 50 to 60,000 jobs in New York State related to that.
All right, really interesting report, really interesting research. Thank you very much for sharing it with us. James Parrott from the Center for New York City Affairs at the New School. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Dan.